Alright y'all, welcome to your next video on helping you out with learning about circle graphs. So circle graphs represent 100%. So that's something that represents the total of everything. So we've talked about percents already, and we've used proportions where we said part, whole, numbers, percent. Remember, your whole or total percent is always 100%. Now there's another way that we could actually use this to help you guys out, and I'm going to show you two examples both ways so that you can use which either way helps you out. So when we're actually finding, and you can only do this if you're finding the part of something, okay? So if we want to change the percent to the decimal and then multiply, that's another representation of how we could figure out that piece or that part. Now we have a little visual up here from percent to decimal. The reason why we have that is it's called the Dr. Pepper trick. It's not really what the D and the P stand for in Dr. Pepper, but it's just a little visual for you. So if we were to say this is decimal and this is percent, you take 2 jumps to the left to get from percent to decimal. And so that what that means is to go from percent to decimal, you can move that decimal 2 times to the left. And I'll show you what that means. So, for example, let's say we had 6%. Well, percent means out of 100, per 100. And if I said that is 6 hundredths, that means 6 hundredths, where the 6 is in the tenths place. I'm sorry, 6 is in the hundredths place. I said it right. I wrote it right and I said it wrong on accident. So let me say that again. So 6% is 6 hundredths. And that's how you read 6 hundredths, 0.06. That's why we don't want you to say 0.06. You say that the 6 is in the hundredths place. So what we ultimately did is we dropped the percent sign, and 6 is a whole number, so there's a decimal behind every whole number. And then if we move 2 times to the left, well, there's my decimal in the new spot, and then we put a 0 there. So that's why it's the same thing. Okay? So that's just a little faster way for us to do that. So let me show you how that works in both examples. So I'm going to show you both ways in order for you to work on the way that works best for you. So it says the circle graph shows the result of a survey of 500 college students about their preferred spring break destination. How many students preferred Cancun? So if they're asking about Cancun, that's the only piece of that circle graph that I want to know. So 12% means 12 out of 100. But there weren't 100 people surveyed, there were 500. So let me show you with the way that we know first, then I'm going to show you that it works out with this little sentence stem to help us out. So the part specifically we are looking about are the students that went to Cancun. Well, we don't know how many surveyed there were as the number, we know the percent. So we're not going to put 12 there, we're going to put 12 over 100 because it's 12% out of 100%. We do know that there were 500 college students, so that's my total. So we're looking for the part that is 12% of 500. So we could do cross, multiply, and divide, of course, but we can actually also look for a scale factor or factor of change. So I know both numbers on the right, and I can see from 100 to 500, I have a scale factor of times 5. Remember, that's called a between scale factor. It doesn't have to go left to right. It could go right to left. So if I knew both numbers on the right, I'm going to go to the left. So my scale factor, again, is times 5. So I'm getting x is equal to 60. Okay? Let me show you how that works with the decimal. So we had a total of 500. There were 500 students. 12% is equal to 12%. To change to a decimal, we drop the percent sign, put our decimal at the back, and move twice to the left. So that's 12 hundredths. Okay, so you are going to have to know how to do this without a calculator. So you would say 500 times 0.12. You can put that 0 there if you like. Remember, when we do multiplication with decimals, we line up the decimals and then multiply, and then move the decimal at the end. Let me have my scratch paper right here. So 500 times 12 hundredths. We're going to pretend that this is like 500 times 12, so that's 0, 0, 2 times 5 is 10. 0 is a placeholder. Then 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 5 is 5. And then we don't have to worry about that 0, because it would just be 0 anyway. Okay, then we add them all up. So that's 0, 0, 0, 6. There are no numbers after the decimal here. 2 numbers after the decimal here. So 0 plus 2 is 2. That means I need 2 numbers total after my decimal, my final answer. And we get 60 again. So that 60 is the part that we also got over here. Okay, so remember, you have to remember how to multiply with decimals. Remember, we multiply with decimals, we pretend the decimal's not there, line up the digits, and move the decimal at the end of our problem. So either way, we did get the same answer. But what does that 60 represent? 60 students preferred, I forgot an R, squeeze one in there, preferred Cancun. So 60 out of 50 wanted to go to Cancun. Okay? A couple ways that you could think about this too. 500 was your original total, and 50%, half of that is 250, and we're not anywhere near 50%. So half of 250 is 125, so that's like 25%, so you know it's going to be less than that. So there's a couple ways that you could do some mental math to kind of double check, but we always want to make sure you use the strategies that we're teaching you to help you as well, because there's better to know the answer for sure than just guessing. Okay? So it says the circle graph shows the students of schedules of 300 high school students. So right there, I already know that that's my total. We're going to skip to the second one. How many students are taking Spanish or French? So or is actually something that we're saying either or of them, so we're going to put them together in the same group. So when we see that, it means we're going to need to add them. So we don't want just the 34% of Spanish, we also want the 20% of French. So 34% for Spanish plus 20% that wanted to take French. So really and truly, we need to look with 54%, excuse me. So 54 is my whole number. Drop the percent sign. Move the decimal twice to the left. So that means that 54% is equivalent to 54 hundredths, because we're going to need that for this part. Okay? So let me show you this way. I'm going to do it this way first, the last one. I'm going to do it this way first this time, and we'll check it with the percent. Again, you don't have to do both of these each time, but we're showing you both ways, so you work with the way that works best for you. Now, this only works if you're trying to find the part. So the total amount of students was 300. My percent, but written as a decimal, we already figured out, was 54 hundredths. So let's see what we get. 300 times 54 hundredths. Line up the digits. So that's 0, 0, 12. 0 is a placeholder because we're pretending like this is 300 times 54. That's 0, 0. 3 times 5 is 15. And we're going to add them all up. 0, 0, 2, 6, 1. Then there's 0 numbers after this, 0 numbers after the decimal in that first one, 2 numbers after the decimal in that one, so 0 plus 2 is 2. So we need to move it back 2 times. So we proved right here that the 162 is my part that want to take Spanish or French. Some of you might not see it that way yet. You're maybe not too comfortable with that strategy. So let's show you with the percent that we've been working with. We've worked with proportions a lot this year. So the part that we're looking for is Spanish and French. Not just one of them, but both of those groups. Okay? How many students is my unknown out of the 300? Then my percent was not just 34. It's not just 20, it's 54. So you have to make sure we put the 54 there. 54% out of 100. Here again, you can cross multiply 54 times 300 divided by 100, but those are big numbers. So I know from right to left, I can do 100 times 3 to get to 300. So I'm going to do that right to left on the top. So 54 times 3, 4 times 3 is 12, 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 62. Check it out. We got the same thing a different way. So you need to work with whatever strategy works best for you. So what does that 162 represent? It represents 162 students that are taking Spanish or French out of the 300. So we're going to say 162 students are taking Spanish or French. So here again, before we even did any math on this problem, we could have maybe done a little bit of mental math, because once we figured out the total percent was 54, well, 50% is half. Half of 300 is 150. This is a little bit more than 50%. And look, this answer needed to be more than 150 students. So that's something to think about as you're working. Remember, for proportions, you can do what we call the bat and ball, where we cross, multiply, and divide. Or you can look for that scale factor like we did, or factor change. A couple different strategies to help you guys out. All right, as always, please let us know if you need any help as you're working. Good luck.